What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Friday. Today, because of the obvious new release, I've got the base camp on the bench. I'm going to go through and try and answer as many of your questions as I can. We'll, get into the truck. If there's something, there was definitely things that I wasn't able. Sorry, I'm just trying to adjust my zoom here. What is going on? There we go. There was lots of things that I wasn't able to get to in the video, so that's what we'll do today. We should definitely be able to get to just about any question, as long as I'm definitely not going to see everybody's in the chat. I will try and get as many answered as I possibly can as we go through, but if you're watching this stream, for information in general on this truck, not always the best way as far as concise information. These live streams can go off tangent a little bit here and there. They can do all that. But if you're shopping for one of these, there are links in the description. You could purchase through an affiliate link and, help the channel. But otherwise, try and get you guys as much info as I can. The base camp. For most of you who are in here regularly, this truck's probably not for you. It's more of a base level, truck. That obviously I talked about that in the video. It's an entry level deal. It is as stripped down of an SC. Well, it's not as stripped down as it can be, because honestly, the move to still include portals was one of those things. Like, don't go as cheap as possible. Try and give the function that they think people will want, but then cut down as many of the other things as possible. Is it the most appealing thing to look at? No. That is my opinion. I don't think the body looks that good. I don't think that this color looks way better in the video that you guys are seeing than it does in person. If I go to the other camera, this is more of a... that's more of the actual color than my main camera. This camera, just the lighting reflection and the wood, it makes it look a lot better. If it was this color that I'm seeing in my monitor, I'd be a little bit more happy. But it's just kind of a pretty bland, basic color. It's the... it was one of the options in the 16 pack or the 8 pack of crayons. They didn't exactly get the 64 pack. So... that's, but beyond that, it is hands down the best performing SCX3 that I've driven, as far as stock. So the fact that it's the least expensive and the best performing, if you're looking to get an SCX3 for the first time, or you want an SCX3 specifically for a project truck, then it's the one that I would tell you to buy. Because, if you don't want the Jeep body, or the Gladiator body, or the early Bronco, then just get it. It's, if you're going to get it and change the body, don't waste your money on the other ones. Just get this one. So one thing that I should note right away is that I talked about how you reverse the transmission. That was not totally correct. You do that thing that I was showing, but it's actually a separate gear that's being sold separately. It's only like 2 teeth different than this one, so that's why that one basically fit in there. But that gear is going to be sold separately, so it will reverse it, and it will slightly affect the gear ratio with the new one. That information wasn't in the manual, and they didn't get it out to us beforehand. I only found out that was the case today. So there is a bit of a correction, something that's important to put out there. This is the battery that I ran. I ran it there's 2 positions. There's a rear battery position and a side battery position. I ran it in the side. It's a great position for a battery. Did the wheel rub cause issues other than just being annoying? I pushed the bumper out. As you can see here, You see how this bumper no longer matches up with that fender line? It's because I pushed it out that, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch. Um, and that's what fixed the tire rubbing issue. Now it still rubs the body, but that doesn't really bother me. Like, I'm used to that a little bit, so like I said, not really a huge deal. Now, the body I don't think looks that great. I'm not afraid to say that. And the painted windows with the stickers, not a fan. But beyond that, it's basically a simplified Proline metric body, one piece hood, one piece body. But beyond that, so I believe Knight Customs has metric parts, and as long as they aren't for underneath of the hood, I think that they'll fit. Um, Something that definitely needs to be tested. So let's see. Like I said, I will catch as many of your questions as possible. I'm still rambling at this point. The Obviously I ran the truck. It's scraped up and rashed. Underneath, the shocks are fine. Like I said, those were a new shock. I just wanted to see if I've got any residue on anything. The bottom of it, of that shock and this shock, is a little shiny, but it's not covered. So there's that. Let's. Did they get Concepts to make the body? Like I said, it's the Proline body. Like, it's a body that people were excited for when it was under Proline. Now, it didn't have painted windows at the time, but people liked that metric body, which is what this thing is. It doesn't mean that I'm a fan of it, but I'm just saying, like, did everybody see the new SAD shock parts today? Yeah, we put out a bunch of option parts. So, has both 3-year axial trans kits for RTR and other been discontinued by Axial? Is the 5-year their replacement? I mean, nothing has been officially discontinued, but being that 3-year isn't in any current vehicles, I could possibly. I mean, it will functional. It will sunset itself, I would say. So, but I don't know that matters, because we see that you can, no one, when they want to put a 3-year in something, they don't buy a stock Axial one. The metric has a drop bed and working hood and Lexan. I think that is why they liked it. This does not. Well, yes, it does have those, but people obviously liked the look enough of the truck as its own to, I don't like the non-drop bed, but the style of it overall, the profile that people are, it's still the same. Let's see. Scott O'Blander, thank you, sir. Are the trans gears approximately the same width as the old 3-gear? Hoping this 4-gear will be as bulletproof. Let's open up the transmission, and I will grab a 3-gear. I would say that from memory, the width looked approximately the same. However, the bearings on the inside of this are not. They appear to be smaller, and that was one of the items that I didn't get to in the review. All right, I talked about it, but I didn't. I talked about it, but it didn't make the edit just based on time. That's usually how that stuff goes. I mean, I could sit here and talk for an entire live stream about all of the things. Jesus, what did I? So to get the transmission out is 4 screws. Let's see. Grab a screw tray, and we'll put the truck over there. We'll switch cameras. So transmission itself, sorry if that's bouncing. Not trying to give you motion sickness. To get the spur gear cover off, there's 2 screws here at the top. That will pull your spur gear cover off. Spur gear cover, it's just, I don't know why. The transmission itself just has kind of a, doesn't have the same, like, I don't know, flair to me that an axial design usually does. So let me go see if I can find a 3 gear real quick. While I do that, check in where you're watching from. Okay. So here is a takeout transmission. Don't know what this was from. I obviously never ran it, so I must have replaced it right away. But Estonia, wow. Miami, Florida, man. F1 this weekend. Ooh, why is this so sticky? You hear that? Maybe I took this thing apart. Who knows what I did to this thing? It doesn't feel new. There. So we'll open this one up. Chattanooga. Knoxville. Yep. I'm going to that down a little bit. There we go. A little bit more in my comfortable working area. Aberdeen, South Dakota. Nevada, Missouri. I don't see a lot of people from Nevada checking in. And yes, that's how you say it. If you're from Missouri, it's not Nevada, Missouri, it's Nevada. There's also Miami. So, this thing, oh man, this is an old one. Because this has plastic gears. I think they went to the sintered metal gears in all of them a long time ago. Huh. So there's a 3 gear opened up. Now let's open this guy up. The new guy in town. That was one from the budget Honcho. Man, I don't know. That was a long time ago. I don't think I have anything left out of I don't keep parts that long. Okay. All right. Let's close the tray. So 3 gear, 5 gear. So here is the inside of the 5 gear. Now, it might look like there's a tooth missing, but that's just actually a little Sharpie mark. From when I was counting teeth, I will mark it with a Sharpie so that I can, I know where I start and stop. Oh, there's going to be a thing on that already. Tech Auto, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So the width, this is that idler gear. This is tech. I would call this really 5 gear. So the 5th, I don't know, the one that would be removed if you transform it to a 4 gear. So not really 5 gear, sort of, kind of. I mean, it is. There's still 5 gears in there. There's 1, and then the step gear has 2 gears on it. So that's 2 gears. Yes, it's molded as one, but you know, if you're calculating a gear system, anything like that, you're still counting it as 2 gears. So no matter if there's only 4 shafts or not. But let's do a width comparison. We'll pull the idler out of the old 3 gear, and it is very close. I can't tell if that's identical or not. If we want to get let's get technical here. There it goes to 0. I don't know where my calipers went, so we're going to use a mic. Oh, there's my calipers. Could have done that differently. That's okay. So 9 millimeters. You know, we're getting a little bit out, but double check the old 3 gear. Yeah, pretty much the same. So now we won't be needing those anymore because I found my calipers. Digital is cheating. I only use digital mics. Calipers, I'll use dial at work at least. Here at home, I'll use digital calipers as well. So, Farvel later, much appreciated. Have you ever thought of adding green to the Vanquish color? We used to offer a bright green, a Monster Energy green. It used to be. And it was a multi-color process to get it done, and it was an absolute pain, and the color drifted too much. So even within the same batch, it would be multiple colors, and that was the biggest pain and the reason that we stopped making green. But you know what I mean. So that is the reason. So I showed a little bit in the video about going from one position to the other. Now here, I didn't really show it up close. I'll grab a pointing stick. In the stock configuration, the step gear is in this pocket here. And then when you want to change it, you take it out of there and you put the new gear that's not included in this pocket. So, and then that eliminates this gear here. So the new axial trans kind of looks like an element trans from this. I mean, I guess kind of, but an element trans is still just this transmission. It's still just a regular 3 gear, but with a dual gear on the idler and then a dual final gear. Otherwise, it's basically the same trans here. What size are the bearings? That is that's the other one that I wanted to get to. So we'll pull calipers for that because they do appear smaller, which is not, I mean, not something I always like to see. I always like bigger bearings than smaller. This looks like a 5x10x4. Yeah, so 10, this is going to be 5. Yeah, 5, 4. So top shaft 5x10x4. That's the same as the previous 3-gear transmission. This one, rut-row, here is the issue. This is the gear shaft that the stepped gear, this gear here, rides on. Now, since the smaller side of this gear is small, they had to use this bearing, which, if I'm not mistaken, this is a 5x8x3, which is a notoriously weak bearing. So yeah, 8. Well, we already know the gear is 5. The shafts are 5 millimeters. And 2.5. 5 by 8 by 2.5. That is a bearing that I don't love. If anyone ever owned an XR10, you may remember 5 by 8 bearings. So there's that one. The bearing on the other side of that step gear looks like a standard 5 by 10. Yep, 5 by 10 by 4. Rob Montana. What's going on, Rob? Got a hog and jog a little content tonight. Hey, Phoenix, Ben, Moose Jaw, and whoever this guy is on video. Thanks for popping in, Rob. So we've got, so far, I haven't pulled the, I'd have to pull the top shaft off to check the bearing on the front side here. I'm guessing 5 by 10 though. And then this idler gear, the other one, again, that's a 5 by 8 by 2.5, and you're going to see the same thing on this side. So bearing sizes are not nearly as beefy in this transmission as the 3 gear. The output bearings appear to be the same, if I'm not mistaken. I think those are like 8 by 14 by 5, but I could be way off. 5 wide, 16, 8 by 16. I was wrong. So yeah, 8, 16, 5. Those are the same output bearings as the previous 3 gear. You can see that the final gear is quite a bit smaller than the 3 gear. So, a little bit of information for you. BT, nice TRX4 Sport you got there. What? That's that. I did grab the closest to stock TRX4 Sport that I have. And it's basically stock, but it's not complete right now. So we're going to have something. We'll be able to compare, but we won't be able to compare absolutely everything because, like I said, it's not complete. Like there's pieces like hanging and missing, but it's the only one that I have that's close to stock. So, and also BT, I binged the new season of Ozark on Saturday and finished. Maybe I finished it Sunday morning. But man, I'm so sad to see that go. I'm so sad. Really liked Ozark. So there you have it on the insides. Josh it up, beef it up. You know, I think that it will still handle brushless for the most part. I do have some concerns with bearing sizes. I'm overly sensitive to bearing sizes, I think. Load rating of bearings is something that I'm always thinking about. The difference I'm just saying, no Ozark spoilers. Oh, I won't. I will not. There are no spoilers. I'm just very sad that the show is gone. Now I have to watch the new episodes of Better Call Saul. So I'm not going to put this back together yet because there could be more questions that arise as we go. Oh, sorry. What is the bolt pattern on the bottom? See, just like that. That is why I'm not going to put it. Oh, I don't have to put it all back together. All of the bolt pattern is on 1/2 of the skid plate. I'm going to give you, it's not the same as the previous. If you were wondering or thinking, you know, it's nothing like the previous Axial one. This is the full bolt pattern, totally different sized. It's also on these pegs, so it will like seat down, but I will give you a rough guesstimate of center to center distances. I'd say it's 35.5 millimeters there. I would estimate 11.5 on those. And then I'm going to estimate 8.5 as far as the spread between the two rows. So I think that that would get you pretty close if you were looking to make that. And if you wanted the depth of those nubs, you're looking at 3.75. Double check once the proper way. 4, probably 4 millimeters. So, missed a couple of super chats. Apologize. Let me go to those first before I look at the other ones. Farvelator, if you 29% overdrive the VFD, is it too much for Revolver and Crawlmaster Mini? Depends on how heavy your truck is. 21% is the kit, not 29. But if you're talking about 29% total, those revolvers are beefy. So I wouldn't totally say that it would be too much. I definitely know people who have put more and still ran those revolvers. So just, it depends on how heavy your truck is. If you're in that 6 pound range, I think you'll be fine. Blind Guy RC as well. Thank you, sir. Hey man, cool to see this on a breakdown. Started the chassis section of the Phoenix. May go with an axe system, but the Mamba X2, interesting. I've got one with an axe in it, which is the Flex Seal. That one has that in there. I don't have the Mamba X2 in anything yet. I have a Mamba X2 here, but have not installed it. So I got to figure out what that is going to do. Or what I'm going to do with that. So, all right. Now I will try and get back to some questions. Oh, diameter of the pegs. That's a good one I didn't get you. 6 millimeter diameter, little over even. So if you're trying to make an actual pocket and something 3D printed, I'd go 6.5, but 6.07 is what I'm getting on calipers. So take that for what you will. Let's see. That thing is a perfect budget build-off base material. It would be. I am not interested in doing another budget build-off right now. Matt and I, Matt Scale Builders Guild, of course, I'm sure you all know. We're talking about just doing like a quick 1-day build. We get anything we can do in 1 day to these trucks. We'll put a few little quick rules to it, you know, so that it doesn't. And it would be more to just be relatable to someone who buys a base camp. Granted, so it's like, you know, you still should use the body, tires, wheels, whatever, something like that. But just seeing what we can do to make it look. I think I would still end up using a bunch of tools that aren't necessarily super relatable, but they're my tools and I love to use them. Hey, was Gunner in here? I didn't see it. Let's see, pinning the message. Where is Gunner? There he is. Let's get this party started. Tonight's code, get my meat in your mouth. If you're unfamiliar with why we're bringing that up, satisfiedjerky.com. Use that code, hashtag, get my meat in your mouth. You will save 10% on beef jerky, my favorite beef jerky as well, which I'm dangerously low on. I still have some smoky barbecue and some Oh That's Hot. That one's pretty good. It is quite. Why that name, Base Camp? Because Base Camp, Satisfied Jerky. Look at that. So this is a good. If you like spicy, get this one. Why that name, Base Camp? Because it's a logical name. Like Base Camp is like the starting point. The whole point of this is that it's either for beginners, starters, or the starting point of a project. So, I mean, normally I feel like names on products are like, whatever, you know, take it or leave it. But this one is like a super logical name. For like the first time, I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. Couldn't you just trim the edge of the front bumper to leave it tucked in? You could, but that wasn't stock, and I wasn't trying to trim it based on new. Also, someone who's just buying the truck, they should know that they, whether or not they're going to trim, moving it out is the most reasonable thing. Also, I didn't do it before I went and hit the rocks. I forgot, and then I did it out there, and I wasn't going to hack it on the rocks. So that was why I did the move out. That absolutely, I think the better method would have been a trim, but I think that the best method for me is going to be swapping this bumper. I'm going to put the Vanquish Origin bumper on there because that bumper is so good. It's super tucked in, and the approach is really nice on it. So I may do that. You'll probably see that in a one-day build. Jeremiah Salberg, thanks, sir. Could you mount a 10.2 skid on this rig? Also, I ran my TRX4 today. I'm 50-50 on that ISDT ESC. It has its quirks. I still haven't ran that ISDT ESC 70, but it looks appealing. But as far as the question on the SCX2 skid, that's a negative. The SCX3 does not have the same bolt pattern on the side. Also, the upper links on a SCX3 mount to the skid plate, not through the chassis, so there's holes missing there. Yeah, so no, you wouldn't be able to. You definitely need something different. For what that's worth. I do like that they went to the separate ESC receiver combo. I think that's that was nice, especially for guys that are in the Spectrum universe, ecosphere, ecoverse, user space, whatever you'd like to call it. It's nice that they did that. And again, having multiple back. Now, one thing that was interesting, I didn't touch on it in the the videos I meant to. I noticed it beforehand, but I know Matt did. These battery trays, like, you can bend these battery trays into a U. Like, I don't know I can't remember if my original one was like this or not. It's just, they're wild flexible. Yeah. Wheelbase 12.3, super standard. Work on just about any of the other bodies that you may have or want or whatever. Yeah. Shock towers are the same as before. No inner fenders. We know that. Cross member in the back is the same. The rear bumper cross member is the same. The front cross members are new. All the multiple winching, the whole deal. How's your battery tray flex? Yeah, right. Base Camp kit, I wouldn't hold my breath. We never got a deadbolt kit. Think about the the builder's kit. SCX2 builder's kit didn't come out for a really long time. I think that I would not count on seeing this as a kit. Kits in general, not that, they don't sell as well as RTRs. So I think that this is likely just the way that you're going to see this thing. What is better, Trax or Axial? Well, that's not how you spell Traxxas, but they're different. This one, if you're going to take these two trucks out of the box stock, and try and run them, compare them, this truck's going to perform better. As long as you move the bumper out and fix that issue. The center of gravity on this truck is going to be lower. That's one thing with the Traxxas that it doesn't have that great of. The battery placement on the Traxxas is pretty high in stock form. This one on the side is about ideal. This motor in the new 5-gear is not as low as it could be. The motor position on a 3-gear was much lower. You can see right there how much lower a 3-gear, or maybe you can't. Let me go to this one. No, not that view. How about that view? How's that one smell? If you've got these basically at the same height at the bottom, roughly, you can see that that motor is about half again higher than it was with a 3-gear. So would I have rather seen a 3-gear in here? Yes. Does a 3-gear fit in an SCX3 chassis all that well? Not that well. It definitely, like, I think that they didn't do it because it doesn't necessarily fit as well. But I think with a little bit of a build up, it could have fit in there just fine and would have been the way that I would have rather seen it go. I think that you go with this transmission, there's unlimited aftermarket, you know, but still, even with the new 5-gear that they've got in here, that motor height compared to a TRX4 motor height, this is better. You know, so you're going to have a lower center of gravity. Now, durability wise, I think that the Traxxas will likely still be better, but this one is gonna be pretty good now. They fixed the panhard issue. You know, they've got the cast metal. I assume that it's aluminum, but I could just. It's sticking to the hardware, but I don't know. I feel like it's got. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think that it's cast aluminum or cast pot metal, whatever. 3-gear only means no portals. That's not true. You just need to have your motor timed the correct way. We've been running 3 gears on portals in trucks forever. Like, works just fine. Like, you know, that's really the thing is that. But this 5-gear fits and it makes the motor up like in the easy location. I know why they did it. It's not necessarily my favorite thing, but it's another transmission option. So, you know, now the only reason that this truck may get outperformed on the rocks would not be because of the servo or the motor location or center of gravity. It would be because of the tires. The tires on this, while they say they're R35, R35 changes. You know, it's not necessarily, the compound hasn't always been the same. Like you go to the original R35 tires and then compared to today's R35 tires, it's not as good of a compound. Where Traxxas stock tires are some of the best RTR tires. So, Squints Palidorus, thank you, sir. Did you finish breaking in the bumper? I mean, it took some. It's got some rash on it, and the other thing with the bumper is that it's pretty pliable. You know, you run it into a rock and it moves out of the way. It's or flex, like whatever you want to say. It's a thing. So I'm definitely going to, like I said, I'll probably change the bumper. I mean, bumpers are like wheels. It's a style thing as well. What is your favorite thing? That's an interesting question. Obviously, this truck wasn't necessarily built for a consumer like me, unless it's for the fact that it's, you know, it could be the base for a custom project. You know, if you want a truck to start with, well, I do like RTR trucks. I do. I like when a new truck comes out and it's an RTR, I'm like, score, because I can just plop it in and get going. But, you know, my favorite thing is that it's going to be the most attractive option to new people and, you know, to possibly get more people in. There you go. Someone wanted to know the weight. Let's do that. So, pounds, ounces. Do I have everything, we're going to need to put the drive shaft on there. We're missing some screws, nothing that's going to make up a ton of weight. Now there's no battery in. This is the spur gear cover. Put that on there. The body pins, 5 pounds, 4.4 ounces. So there you go. There's your weight. No fancy corner scales. They are not handy. They are at the office. So glad that was on video. Just so that you could see my lightning fast reflexes. So, you're going to test the trans out for us by doing 65 miles an hour? You know, it'd be an interest. I love me a speed challenge, man. I do love me a speed challenge. Wait, is the front wheel well way too small for the tire? I don't think so. I mean, that's a personal opinion thing, but I think that looks about right. I don't know. I mean, maybe it could be a little bit. Would you swap the trans into other 10.3 trucks? Yes, I would. I do not like the other 10.3 trans. I really don't. For a number of reasons. One, it's freaking impossible to work on the truck. The other 10.3s, like to get the transmission out and everything, like that's a freaking massive pain. You know, I know that some people are going to like it because it's got the motor forward, and forward is nice, but low is nicer. Having the motor low is, to me, one of the most important things. Now, granted, if it was low and in the back of the truck, I'd be like, okay, well, we can start making a little bit of sacrifice there. But as far forward but as low as possible is el numero uno. So, you know, that's the thing. This, for that reason, I like. Now, if it's probably not going to allow for the same amount of interior space, things like that. So that's a different question. That's a question for you. What fits with your builds and things like that. Ian Turbo TT. Did you move the bumper forward? I did. I went 2 holes forward. There's 3 total adjustable bumper locations. It shipped in the furthest in, and I moved it to the furthest out. So I think I would mod up a front battery tray. I think that the side battery tray is the best possible location. It's as low as it can get. If you move it forward, it moves it up, which again, I want it as low as possible, just like the motor. So this side tray is, you know, again, unless you have like interior concerns, that's not going to work. But otherwise, here on the side it's where I run it on most all of my trucks. What are the shock towers made of? Plastic. They're the exact same shock towers as before. So, other than the pan-hard mount, which is now metal, everything is still plastic. Torque twist. Is there a specific question about it? I did a running video. You can see information there. Now it does look like it was holding a tire in the air, but that's kind of really just because I was making it off camber. And so, why didn't they make it a 10.3 deadbolt? I mean, as far as like what body choice you want, one versus another, if they would have released a deadbolt, people would have been like, why'd they do another deadbolt? It's, honestly, changing it up is oftentimes worth it, no matter if it's a lateral move or not. It's something different. Metal servo horn, yes, it does ship with a metal servo horn. The transmission is still just setting in there, so I'm going to move it before I drop it 10 times. We're going to pull the slider out of the drive shaft so I don't drop that. Front and rear. Overall diameter of the tires is 475. Can you return it? No. 419 tires on it, please. Urgh. I've got some You're lucky that Scale Nationals just happened and I actually have 419 tires for something. Okay, let's do a tire swap. Take the little nut covers off. Never. Do you guys like the little nut covers, center lug things? It's never something I'm a huge fan of. I know I should be, but I never am. So, let's see. I meant anti-torque twist. What is that? What is anti-torque twist? Unless you're talking about like the gimmicky, like reverse rotation, anti-torque twist. That's a gimmick done by companies that, like, I will argue that all day. Like that works in theory only if it's on a perfectly flat surface and you have equal traction always on all tire. Like, other than that, it's just a silly thing. Let's see. Okay. Pull those off. Kind of tight, actually. What upgrades will you be doing to this? I don't know yet. It's gonna be interesting. Like I said, Matt and I are talking about doing kind of a 1-day thing. And I don't want to let him know I don't want him to let me know my plans. Secrets getting out. Okay. Stock tires are, oh, son of a, I only have hubs on 2 of these. Damn it, I gotta put hubs on it. Will these hubs clear this portal? Can't tell. I don't know if they will or not. I'm gonna force them on. I've got narrow hubs on here because these clear the Vanquish F10 portals, but I don't know if they'll clear axial portals. F10s have a little bit better clearance. Just do one side. I mean, that's an option. Honestly, Phoenix, that's using the big brain side of your head. It's a good idea. I'll put the other tires back on the other side and we can do some A/B testing. Okay, let's put the other tires back on. I used my last brain cell for that one. Well, have a drink and finish it off. It's just got such long stub axles. Why do they have to be so long? I've been into bigger tires lately. You know, that's a common thing. People like big tires, people like little tires. That's why they make brown shoes and black shoes. Some people like brown shoes, some people like black shoes. My dad told me a million times growing up. Camera A, camera B. I think it was camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1, camera 2. Was that Wayne's World 1 or 2? I think it was 1, right? Is that an exposed receiver? Yeah, the receiver's out. Like electronics are waterproof now. There's no reason for I hate electronics boxes actually. Like then I got to get inside or I got to fish my wires through a stupid receiver box. Like out exposed electronics, that's the only way to go now. If I see I see receiver boxes, I just take them out of the truck. Like, nope, this has got to go. So there is the stock look, right? And now with 419s, I would say the ride height looks a little tall. But if you get the ride height down, I would say that that actually looks pretty good. You know, needs some droop. I don't like actual droop suspension, but that looks pretty appropriate. And I don't even like 419s, but I would say that this looks like proper good. And that is silly. Fenders rub with 419s? I don't see how, because this is at full compression, full bump. Now that looks silly at full ride height. That looks like a monster truck. But if you get some shorter shocks on here, put some like 80 millimeter shocks on here. The front bumper, let's see. Well, I've got the front bumper moved all the way out right now, so there's no way it will touch it. But I could probably move it in and still, yeah, I think you would have plenty of room. These shocks are these 90s? I don't remember. They're about a 90. Yeah. Get some 419s and some 80 millimeter shocks, and this thing would actually be, I think it would look pretty good with this particular body. That's actually not bad at all. So keeps the link's nice and flat. Will keep the truck low in general, and still have portals for clearance. So it actually probably perform well too. Here, use these 80s. Oh wait, I've got 80 millimeter shocks we could put on here, but I'm not trying to do that yet. Taller shock keys, the proper way to drop it? No, because then all you're doing is you're going to have a bunch of suspension travel you can't use. Because if you do that, your axle can only go up so far before you start having all the tire clearance. So shock keys would actually probably be a waste compared to just the right length shock. Josh is shockingly surprised that he likes it. I am, because I'm not usually a big fan of 419s. But it makes it look a lot more appropriate with that body. Order dinner yet? I have not. With the 419s, the body doesn't look so stumpy. That's exactly what I was thinking too. It's like the body looks a lot better with those tires. Maybe on my one-day build, I'll do that. I don't know. That sounds weird. Josh ain't about that scale life. So we're going to throw the stock tires back on so that we're not confusing anybody later. Dropped my nuts. Put the shocks on the link mount. Well, on an SCX3, the shock and link mount is at the same height. So you're not gaining anything there. It's not like an SCX2. Is it worth it? That's all I need to know. I mean, yeah, it's the cheapest one. So if you want an SCX3, then it's worth it because it's the cheapest one. Especially if you're gonna if you want to change anything in the future, like you're not, personally, I like this transmission better than the other transmissions that they offer. So as far as any current gen axial, this would probably be the one that I would lean towards choosing. What about scale points? That is an interesting question. So in stock form, this would technically be a class 2 because of tire height. But you would have 1 point for plastic front, 1 point for plastic rear. You would get D-ring points, which would just be one functional point, even though there's two of them. You would get one additional point for a grill guard or stinger, whatever you want to call that. You would get a point for the hub covers. I'm not adding any of this up, so that's not going to help us any. Is there any other scale points? Chassis mounted servo is a scale point. I don't know. I'd really have to start writing stuff down and thinking about it. But yeah, the windows are painted. Yeah, the windows. The body is. I say painted. It's technically this is screened. So like this whole body is formed out of a piece of already green and white backed material. So it's not really painted. The only thing that's painted on this body is this black bed. So by that or a pro, you're talking about completely different realms. If you can swing a pro, the pro is the way to go. But they're totally different worlds. Are truck nuts scale points? Yes, they are. They are one non-functional scale point. TRX for Sport or Base Camp? It's a great question. That's one of those things that's a personal preference thing. There's tons of aftermarket support for the Traxxas. Aftermarket support for the SCX is also good. Electronics, I would say, are almost a wash between the two. The radio on the Base Camp, I might say that I like a little bit better as far as feel. The ESC is better in the Traxxas though. Motor, 6.1, half dozen the other. Traxxas motors are pretty good. This one is fine, 35 turn. I think that the performance is going to be a little bit better here. Durability is probably going to be a little bit better here. I don't know. How much brass can you put on a Base Camp? Yeah. Sendero or Base Camp? Again, it's the same type of question, really. Aftermarket isn't quite as good on the elements as it is for the axials. Electronics. So I haven't ran the new Element electronics. Element changed their OEM on electronics. This ESC in this one is a 40 amp, and I believe that this is OEM'd from Hobbywing, whereas Element, not too recently, probably over a year ago, they changed OEMs from kind of the standard Hobbywing, which makes most of the OEM electronics, and they changed to a company called Surpass. It's a little bit less expensive, but I haven't ran any of the Surpass electronics, so I actually don't know. But I do like the radio and the Axial better again than the Element though. So again, I've said it a lot of times before as well though. You need to buy what you like to look at. And that is a bit of a problem because this body I don't love looking at. But this body I don't love looking at either. I would say that the sport body is it's got a little bit more style to it. It's kind of more angular and muscular in its own way, but it's also very generic. It also has covered windows. This one looks a bit like a Toyota, and if you're a Toyota fan, then that could be a plus. Um, but you know, I don't know. Again, it's always a balance. You have to. It has to be in your budget range. You have to be happy to look at it. Um, and I think this one is going to perform well for you. I honestly do. Like, I didn't love driving my SCX3s before. I just didn't. Where this one, I'm like, I'm more than happy to drive it. So, Capra Axle 10.3 Base Camp with that trans setup. Yeah. You know, it doesn't. The Capra Axle doesn't have a panhard, which you will need on this. So you'll need to come up with a panhard mount, or there is a couple of ones that you can buy. So, yeah. Would you say it's a Honcho body with a bed? No, I wouldn't. I can show you that if you'd like to see it a little bit more up close. Since I happen to have a Honcho bodied project handy. This was one I did on a Friday Night Live not too long ago. I took a box stock Honcho and swapped in a scatter gun from Northwest Scale Designs, their chassis. But here's the two. It's amazing how much better clear windows make things look. But let me try and make this so you can see some of these angles. Profile wise, you know, you can see something. I don't know how does that make you feel? Tell me about your feelings. Now, head on, you can see, God, you really can't. The Honcho body feels a lot wider to me. But am I wrong? Maybe we get scientific and we use a calibrated measuring instrument. The Honcho at the widest point of the fenders is, we're going to call it 8 3/8. 8 3/8 inches. This one at the widest point is 7 3/4. So the Honcho is a little bit more pre-runnered. And I would say pre-runner specifically because it's kind of got flared well, yeah, there. Look at that profile there. That pre-runner look that, you know, versus that. I bet at the doors, these are probably about the same, but the bulbous front fenders of the Honcho are what make for that extra width. So there's that. Beyond that, you know, a lot of it's similar, but having these next to each other, I would not say that they are the same. I currently have the Honcho looks smaller. Man, I would say the exact opposite of that. I've got this bed zip tied on here currently because of they look different scale. That's an interesting point. We will never know until General can review. All these releases are free and they don't want to make sponsors mad. There's lots of things that I've said that I didn't like the Capra. I got one of those free. Then they still sent me ones after it. It is what it is. You say everything is great. People don't watch stuff. And I also don't care that much. Like, if I don't get it for free and I want it, then I'll get it. If I get it for free, fantastic. But let's see. We're going to have to take the battery tray off. I just wonder, are these body posts in the same width? Maybe? Would this fit on that? That would tell me. No. Oh, yep, they do. Look at that. Ooh, look at how good that sits. Even with 475s. Now, that's a whole different aftermarket chassis, but that's on that. So let's just quickly pull this off. Come on. Okay. That's about as good as that's gonna sit, but the color blows out. Granted, there's a gigantic bumper back here, but looks pretty good too. I mean, I'm just saying, I do like that. The bumpers are killing it. That is definitely true. But the bumpers, people may say, are killing it. Stock Honcho bumpers also look terrible. So the idea is nice. It's got the cool angle and all that. But they're huge and stick way out there. Like Honcho bumpers, don't romanticize that idea. And if you have a Honcho with stock bumpers, I'm sorry, but they're ugly. But this looks good. Would I have liked to see this? Yes. Would I have liked to have seen it with the clear windows? Absolutely. I like tube cages, though. So there you go. I think that looked great. Let's put stuff back together. I need to put the battery tray back on. Setting random shit everywhere. Bite my Honcho bumper. Okay. The hell did I do with that? Battery tray. There it is. I got it. Okay. That. Battery trays are back on. Granted, I could leave this rear one out since I'm running a side battery and I probably always will be, but I want to have this truck basically stock until I start the Hyundai. Hey, Matt is in here. Speaking of, until we start some one day build type activities, which I don't know when we're doing that yet, but we'll figure it out and hopefully do it soon. Base Camp, Honcho bed, nice bumpers, Holmes, Vanquish links. Yeah, be a nice little get together. So there you go. Honch, no. Scotty, no. I don't know where that came from. Is that out of this truck? Is that out of that truck? I think it's out of that truck. Oh well. Figure it out later. Think the trans will hold with a Brood 27 turn on 4S? Yeah. Brushed power like that, it'd be fine. Can't forget capper axles. I wouldn't put capper axles on here. I mean, in all honesty, like I would rather have offset axles than capper axles. Capper axles are fine. They're for performance, but they're not necessarily what I would go for looks. The extra wide. Also, you start running into all kinds of clearance things. Like, it's getting new. Does VP make 10.3 stuff yet? We've got 10.3 axles, think some Link stuff. I can't remember what else. Not a ton, but some. Servo and axle for the win. It's nice for performance only. It doesn't look that great unless you do a really good job hiding it, which most don't. Definitely not like normal Capra stuff doesn't. So it should be good for business, except for maybe the bearings. I think agreed. I think that it will be good. I think it's good for the hobby as far as, you know, giving something. I mean, Axials right now, like the fact that all of them were so expensive was tough. But now getting an SCX3 that's sub 400 at least is a good thing. And again, it's not for most of us who watch this type of content. You're already probably much more intimately aware of what to do in most cases. This is, again, good for a beginner. Or if you know exactly what you're going to do and you're buying a truck to tear it apart and build exactly what you want. TRX is a better buy. So it's $20 more, the base camp. Again, I think that this, if you want better performance, I think this is a better buy. Is, you know, especially out of the box. The TRX4, I like my TRX4s for a lot of reasons. They're extremely strong, but they're not great performers. And you can only do so much to them to make them to a certain level. They're never going to steer that well because of the inner axle shaft design. They're never going to do that well in that respect. They look good with a lot of their body options. They've got 2 speeds that are cool and diff lockers that are cool for people. But you have to be into that type of gadget, which I'm not always into that as much. So I think in that respect, finally, this one is an SCX3 that I like the base of. Again, I don't like the finish of it with those windows and stuff. But if I'm building an SCX3 and I'm going to replace a body and I'm going to build bumpers and I'm going to change wheels and tires anyway, there's no reason in the world that this wouldn't be the one that I would start with. My TRX4 is awesome for trailing. Trailing is a whole bit like trailing, much less demanding, you know, terrain, things like that. So it's like if you found one that works well for you, the 2 speed's fun for shifting and roosting some stuff, or, you know, hill climbing, it is good. And again, I've got, what do I have? I think I have like 6 or 7 TRX4s. I think I have 3 TRX4 Sports for some reason. There's always something I was just like, I need another one of those. Then I've got the 6x6, which is my favorite TRX4 of all time. Then I've got the TRX 4000. So that's 3, 4, 5. What's the other one that I have? Oh, the Bronco. So 6. I think I have 6 of them. But yeah. So they're great for certain things, and durability is absolutely one of them. All out performance, not one of them. Where is that brass Bronco? Down there. Oh, the other Bronco I was talking about was the older Bronco. The brass one, the super heavy one's down there though. I'm not lifting it right now. I don't feel like it. One of your 6x6 goes like 7. Yes, that is the only 6x6 that I own, is my 72 or 3 mile an hour one. So yeah, let's see. TRX6 for the win, always. Oops. So in general, yes, I think it was a good release. I think that for exactly what it is, it does the job. There's things that are odd. I've got some concerns. You know, that transmission, the bearing sizes are concerning a little bit. We'll see how that really works out. Hopefully it's fine. I imagine that it will especially be fine for about 99% of the market, 99.9% even. Some of us that do stupid power and all that, maybe we're going to have some bearing issues. And a percentage of the market could have bearing issues over time. But So will you revisit your TRX6 shenanigans again and try for 80? I don't know. If I put foam tires on it, possibly, but honestly, at this point, like, it made it to past 70 and it still looks perfect. So I'm like, maybe I should just bow out, say thank you, and put that on the shelf and let all of that carbon fiber live a nice life. Plus, I have hundreds and hundreds of dollars in carbon fiber. Josh, have you ever thought about building a superclass crawler? Yeah, I mean, back in the day when we were competing, I had one. And then I drove a lot of them, but would I build one today? No. You know, I have too many other things that I would maybe do. I'm sure Base Camp will have the one. I'm sure that no, I actually Dana his question was, I'm sure that the Base Camp would have the one piece ring gear and locker, but it does not. It's got the standard machined gear and 6-bolt locker. I was super surprised at that, but they gave you the good stuff as far as that went. I opened it up because I was like, I would have expected that to be one of the cost-cutting ideas, but full machined set, so it was a good deal there. You know, especially for those people who are builders, like, that's one of those things that is important. So let's see. But you have a pre-production model. Yes, but it's on the box art as well. And trucks like this are not pre-production. Generally, what happens with these is that media kits, after the construction of all of the kits, however many they order, say they order 5,000 trucks. Out of those trucks, they will take however many, say a dozen, and they will have them air shipped over. You know, they'll FedEx them from where they're made. This truck's made in Taiwan. They'll have them sent over by air shipping. That can take about 4 days. And then they take those and they mail them to us, while the rest of them get loaded in a container and get put on the slow boat, which takes about 28 days. So when we get them early, that's usually what it is. Usually if you see any longer than about 2 or 3 weeks after we get them, before all that, it's because you know, something happens in customs or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, well, that's not for that. This is for that. The blue tray. Oh, the parts. Yeah, the screw tray. These are the Vanquish ones. They're awesome. They're my favorite thing. They're silicone rubber. They get all dirty and grimy. You just wash them off with dish soap. They're so nice. They're made in black and blue. This is a pre-production one. This is truly pre-production because you can actually see the CNC milling mold, or milling in the molds. Once they're finalized, the mold is treated to smooth out the finish. But that's what they look like beforehand. Fun fact. Oh, that was too long of a screw. I can tell because it pushed out the front. Those 4 must be for the bottom. I bet I put 2 of the short ones. Nope. Gotta find where I put the wrong screws. Hello from Maine. Hello in California. The fun part of disassembling. Oh, wait. There they are. I see them. They're over here. Fixed. So I think we can drop this back in. Some of those wrong screws end up doing the most damage. They can. This one luckily just pushed the front of the spur cover out. No real effect. But you're right. They absolutely can if you do it wrong enough. Oh, when you put our drive shafts back together. And we also need to phase them. So let's get that in there. That is correct. And where's the other drive shaft? Oh, it's not on yet. I don't have to put that one on yet. Okay. Get in the hole. And let me get these back installed. Oh, that's for the 3-gear. Let's see. What are the trails like at Rob Resorts compared to Donner? I actually don't know. I have never been to Rob's Resort. I'm not aware of any in the area, but there's still snow on the ground there. Otherwise, I was going to go. Let's see. Is the factory close to your house, or any chance of you giving us a tour? What factory? Don't know what you mean. Okay, so that I still got to put the rear drive shaft in. Again, we're going to phase it with the universal shafts like these. You can just line up the holes for the cross pins, or like where the cross pins and the drive shafts go. That's the easiest way. The Axial factory, no. Axial factory is in Taiwan. I live in California. Okay. Hold, please, while I hold my tongue just right to get this. There we go. Do you think the thinner links will hold up? I think that you could see issue with that, especially on custom projects, as the weight increases. In stock form, I think they'll be fine. Let's see. Okay. Right. Plug this stuff back in, and I'll zip tie some things. Josh's RC Wonka. I love the default driver. I have one myself. Makes builds much quicker. Absolutely. I'm building so many ridiculous projects most of the time that if I didn't have that, at this point I have transitioned to be team red. Most all of my other power tools are Milwaukee now, but I don't think that there's a Milwaukee that can replace my DeWalt because of the size, and it's just like the perfect RC size. The clutch is fantastic. You have to get the one with the clutch. That's key. But yeah, if you don't do that, that's you're in trouble. Let's see. Hobby Shop here said my base camp could be in by the end of next week. Yeah, they're here. So I love the twist. That's what I like about it. You know, it took me a second to get used to it, but like literally just a few minutes, and I was absolutely just like, oh yeah, this is perfect and feels so natural. So Milwaukee M4 driver. I tried that one, but compared to my DeWalt, I don't like it as much. I don't think it's as good. And I love my DeWalt stuff, or sorry, Milwaukee stuff. Um, so get that shit moved up out of the way. There you go. Now that's how long have you had the base camp? Shit, I don't know. Like I really don't know. A couple weeks maybe or so ish. So, you know, I forget. Um, all my cordless tools I work on Volvos with are M18. So I've got a mix of M12 and M18. I really like it. How much is the base camp? It is 389. 79 or 89? Click the link in the description. There's 2 links there. It'll tell you on either one. They are affiliate links. If you buy through there, I get credit. What? 389. Thank you, Mr. Calhoun. And then Chris, and then Gringo Bandito. And so, um, no. Yeah, I mean, if all right, if you guys have more questions about it, is it still 12.3 wheelbase? Yes, still the normal wheelbase. So if you've got another body in mind, pretty much should drop right on. The body posts, you know, people aren't always going to love body posts, but that's you know, I still think it should be 299. 299 would be great, but it's just not the world we live in anymore. Costs are higher. Even if it's like the 299 truck you used to think about, it like nothing, you can't get the same thing for what you used to get. Also have to remember the 299 trucks that you compare or you think about in the past, like a lot of those trucks had plastic links, no portals. You know, like just the chassis weren't as beefy. Like there's all kinds of things about it, like that. These trucks are not like they used to be in that regard. So you have to kind of think about all that stuff. Stuff is a lot now. Yeah, I mean, shipping costs are higher. All of that stuff just gets pushed around. The smaller armor infraction is now 299. Like that doesn't really you know, directly compare, but you know, they're totally different types of construction and all that. But it's something to think about. Yeah, it'd be great if everything, you know, we could price compared to how we used to. It's just, yeah. Plastic pivot balls, etc. Yeah, like the old, not this one, but the old trucks that we think about, like, yeah, those were plastic links, plastic pivot balls. Like there was all kinds of really cheap stuff in that. And some of that has gone. Now, we also got windows that were not painted over, which was nice. So, you know, there is give and take. There is some things that are, you know, quote unquote cheaped out on now. Also, those cheap ones had the one piece ring and pin, or the one piece ring gear and locker. Like that's a big upgrade to get the machined ones. Just every little thing. So we're in a different market. We can't, the prices that we used to have are just not the same. Also, think about the, we do get radios now that are reasonable. I don't know if you guys remember the old Axial RTR radios, but they were bad. This is the SLT3, which isn't one that I had used before. Um, it's okay. I mean, I'm not in the smart technology ecosystem, so I don't really have smart batteries. I think I have one, like one 5000. And so it doesn't bother me that this is not smart capable, and it's comfortable enough that I'm pretty happy with it. So it's still a 3 channel. So if you plan to use it long term, yeah. What is a good 1/10 starter crawler? This one, or this one, or you know, no dog bones either. Oh God, that's right. Remember that Honcho and Deadbolt used dog bones? Like, this actually has universal axle shafts plus the portals and everything else. Yeah. So it's lots of differences nowadays. We're in a more competitive market, which, while it does make prices go up because you're trying to like compete with each other and just everything else. Oh, the dog bone thunk thunk. The good thing about the dog bones is that you could make the tools for link building. Yeah. That's you know, just like on the other cheaper models also, no rock sliders. The Deadbolt Honcho didn't have them before. This one doesn't have it now, which, and these are, they're not the same, but they're almost the same slider base as we used to get. Um, do you have any good videos how to program a dig on 4 p.m.? Yep, I do. Go to the Vanquish VFD dig install. I go through the installation of that and then also talk about the programming towards the end. Thanks for that. And now I've used for the dog bone cups. Yep, you just got to open up the slot a little bit so that the link falls in. Let's see. So here was my now you guys have probably seen me do it, but this is the TGH tool that I use now. But it's basically just this turned into a usable product or a sellable product. But because this is what I used to use for years before that, and this is just an axial dog bone cup that I ground the slots a little bit larger so that a rod end could fit in there. Let me see. So, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I use these so that you can you build links with it. I would put this in my drill, and a rod end would slip in there, and then you could just power it onto the link. There's some duct tape wrapped around there first, and then 2 O-rings to keep everything centered. Things you probably have around your house. But just chuck this up in your drill. Or you can buy the TGH one, which is nice and handy, and you don't have to do anything. So I like not having to do anything. The nice thing about the TGH one is that it works with the pivot ball in there or without, where mine only worked without the pivot ball. Otherwise, you'd have to grind open that. So, yeah. Way nicer to build links with, though, when you have nice tools. And how I do it is this one goes in the drill. One link goes in there. And then this is a Zerba tool, SCX10iii tool. And the other side goes in here. So then you just kind of put the link on that side. You take this one and you just, and it just pushes them both together at the same time. It's a match made in heaven. So, and then it is, I just store them together in there. I used to store this one in a hole that I drilled right there. So, if you hate building links, these are the tools that you need. Also, if you have one of these, the Let's see if I have the actual purpose of that is so that you can take a normal like drill bit or whatever and put this in there and put that on your, and then it's the same thing as this. So that was the point of how that was done. But I always just used a combination of two tools instead. So, but if you ever wondered what that was for, now you know. Tool time. Oh, dang, mind blown. Some of my favorite tools. Handy tools make things. Oh, thank you, sir. Hi, Josh. For the TRX4, are shock keys a janky upgrade? Do you approve of them? TRX4s are hard to use shock keys with because of how the shocks mount. Not a big fan of shock keys in lots of cases just because of how they are oftentimes used. They're not bad in theory. They can just be used oddly. But they're not bad, but I don't know if they make them for TR. And maybe they. I haven't seen them. I guess if they do, unless you change the entire shock tower, and in that case, go nuts. Got my first SCX10iii today. I get it now, Scott. It's dangerous because you just bought your first SCX10iii, and somehow this time next month you'll have 3 of them, and then by the end of the summer, sometime you'll have a dozen somehow. I'm going to Satisfied Jerky. Oh, that's hot. You can get 10% off if you'd like some. It's linked. It's pinned at the top. So many peppers on this one. So, a little bit of tire still on my fingers. Comes across in the jerky. I think I'm up to 5 SCX10iiis. I bought an SCX24. Now I have 3. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I can 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 in this room. I don't know where the rest are. One of my budget builds at the office. Let's see. Josh, ever seen the Warthog 3D printed chassis? Nope, I have not. Like the Halo Warthog? The upgrades are ridiculous. And they're nice and cheap. 1/18 is the smallest I like. That's a great question because I typically don't like small scale. 1/18 is kind of that in-between scale that I don't like. Especially because it's not super handy and it's not all that capable like a 10 scale. So the 124 scales I was like and then I started getting them. I actually liked them a little bit more, and they go and they got worse and worse. But so I like the 124 scales, and then I don't like anything until 10 scale. So try and eat as little amount of tire as possible. Tire taste, I mean. So let's see. Jeremiah, thank you, sir. How to make a TRX4 Sport better? First pro axles and links, shocks next, buy a VS4 chassis, get VFD, conclude the TRX4. The TRX4 in their own way is just a super solid truck. And what you can do with them, and they'll still hold up, is really impressive. I just wouldn't try and compete with one. I wish that the steering was better. That's one of the things. I do like that they have overdrive gears for the axles. That's nice to have. So. You're going to ruin your dinner. I could eat a full dinner, be completely full and satisfied, and still somehow eat a bag of jerky without any problem. I buy camp or I wait. Buy it. If you want a new truck and it fits your needs, get it. It's cheap. I'm not saying it's cheap. Like, if it's in the price range that you're comfortable with, you like it, get it. I think you'll be happy with it. It's still an SCX3. Excuse me. A little pepper flake on the back of my... Thank you. That was it. More jerky will fix that. So, yeah. Well, if you guys have more questions on this, let me know. Otherwise, if we're just into the part of the stream where things go wildly off course, that's fine too. But if anyone's here for actual base camp information, I'd like to try and answer that for you. Would it make a good RC four-wheel drive hard body conversion starter chassis? I'm trying to think if there's any reason why it wouldn't. I mean, as long as the transmission would clear whatever body you're buying, I mean, beyond that, yeah, sure. You know, as long as portals are the right thing for you and all that, I think that you'll probably be fine. Yeah, I can't think of why else it would be anything wrong. Could you use the parts from this to build a comp crawler? Yes, you could. SCX3 axles are common in the comp world. The transmission, you know, obviously you would have to either make or use this skid plate in that, where this skid plate may not have a common bolt pattern, but I think that you'll find, I think people will probably end up making some very simple 3D printed skid plates for this transmission because it's super easy to do. And then with that, you're basically looking at either a chassis change or just, you know, doing like a, even if you just did a shock tower swap to get this thing slammed way down, you'd probably be fine. You could probably turn this thing into something pretty easily. Is this still on, Matt? You know, it's just how this goes. You can't be this interesting and not have these streams go for a long time. Josh, looking at this new transmission, will Vanquish make a VP built transmission for this rig? I don't think that's, I don't know why, you know, maybe, but it's not something that immediately comes to mind. At the price point, would you go with a Deadbolt SCX2 or the Base Camp? I'm trying to think if there's any reason I wouldn't go Base Camp. SCX2 is straight axle still. So if you want an SCX2, then okay, I mean, if you want straight axles, then that's an easier buy. It's a little bit cheaper. But this thing is built better. It's got better links. It's got better rod ends. It's got better shocks. Better shocks by a mile. The electronics are going to be a wash or similar. You're going to start finding a lot more aftermarket support for this truck, or there's enough of it already. You know, yeah, it's just a current generation. And, you know, like we talked about, there's a lot of things that was in the Deadbolt. Bad links, you know, it's got one piece ring gear and locker, you know, it's not the same. I think that this is probably a better value in a lot of ways. So, but if you don't like the look of this at all, there's an answer for that too, then. Don't buy it. So basically do a 3-gear swap and it's good. If you're talking a comp chassis or a true comp crawler, you're maybe looking at a different transmission entirely, something with a lot of overdrive. Who knows? I think that I don't think that there's a need to swap this out for a 3-gear right away, unless you have like a super built 3-gear for some reason. But if not, this one is going to do just fine. Is the Outrunner better for this car? Better? I mean, costs a lot more. You need a different ESC. You know, Outrunners have their place. They are torquey. They don't have a ton of speed. So, you know, there's yes and no's. Base Camp or Enduro Sendero HD. I like the body better on the Enduro, but the element axles are a weak point. The ring gear, you know, and pinion gear are a kind of a weak design. It's been the biggest issue I've had with elements is the ability to make those gears skip because of the design. I think that these axles are a lot better in that respect. I'm not always necessarily 100% of a portal guy, but other than the body, the element does have overdrive, which is nice. But overdrive's easy enough to put into this, you know, either with overdrive or underdrive gears, portal gears. So in that respect, as much as I like the look of the Sendero HD, I would maybe still go with this. You know, it's a tough one. I think that out of the box performance, the Enduro will probably do better. The Enduros are real minimal trucks. Which is a pro because it makes them lighter, but they're not, I would say that they're like not built as well. You know, like there's a lack of bracing. The whole truck is pretty like twisty, flimsy almost in a way. But it's got overdrive and it's light. Their shocks are amazing. You know, so it's like pros and cons to every single truck. Are the shocks a decent upgrade? Compared to the other ones, they're very similar. I wouldn't say that they're, I mean, it's basically a metal cap is the difference. So, you know, I don't know. They're fine. I don't know that I see them as a huge plus or minus or anything. Josh, what are these portal axles called? They always just referred to them as AR45. I mean, AR45 portal axles. So, I don't know that they have a more official name. I've never seen them called AR45P specifically, but maybe they are, and that doesn't sound familiar. This would be a good alternative to the 10.3 JL. Yeah, I mean, it would be a great alternative if you don't want a Jeep body. Then you're going to save a ton of money, and I think that this transmission is better as far as being simpler, lower center of gravity, easy to work on. For a lot of reasons, I think that this is better. Wish the green was an OD green like the TRD color. I'd probably get a gray one because of that. I agree. The gray is probably the best color. It's not very flashy on video, but this green, like I said at the beginning of this stream, it looks better in the view that you guys are seeing right now than it does in person. And if I go to the other camera views, I think that gives you a more realistic look of the color. It's less bright. I think that the, you know, a little out of focus there, but even that view is a little bright. The lighting in here can be overpowering. Yeah. Matt agrees. The gray is the most attractive. I think that the gray is the most attractive. I honestly think that after everything, this green is better looking than the blue. Man, that blue is a little smurfish or something. I'm not sure. I wouldn't have normally, like, I would have normally put green at the bottom, least favorite, then blue, then gray. But I mean, it's really a bit of a shit sandwich. None of it's great. The colors are all kind of trash. Is that the metric body? Yes and no. It doesn't have an opening hood. It doesn't have a drop bed. It's one piece. But the shape is metric body. How do you mess up blue? I know. I agree. My nose is running from my very spicy jerky. But I can't stop because it's a bag of jerky that I've opened in front of me. And I apologize for eating on stream. But I don't at the same time. It's periwinkle. So, they were going for Calvary, but missed. Calvary. I don't know what to call it. Call it whatever you want to call it. It's gonna be a no from me, dog. Is that Randy Jackson's signature on a samurai sword? You just don't not get Randy Jackson's autograph. So, cavalry. There we go. Yeah. Right? Cavalry. I was like, what is Calvary? Is that a place in Canada? Just got my jerky order in today. Nice. Keep the portals or run the axial straight axle kit and pinion down. It's a good question. It's a very good question. I don't know the answer. I don't know. I have straight axles here. But I don't know. Matt, were you here for when I put 419s on this? I'm just scaled out today. But yeah. Yes, I did. I put 419s on here, and they actually, if you get the ride height down, it made this truck body look pretty good. And for me to say that, that's it's an important opinion. I think all of my opinions are fairly important, of course. But I would even possibly consider going that route. They should have made the green one red just to piss off Traxxas. Ouch. Let's see. That rear overhang looks disproportionately long. It's not short. You can tell by the bumper, the chassis stops here. This entire length is all beyond the chassis. So, but for a Gladiator owner like me, it seems just right. But no, seriously. I did find myself hitting it quite a bit. I also found it holding me from going over backwards, which, hidden bonus there, I guess. So you can only go over so far. until I was on an incline and doing it, and it was like kind of walking itself back down. So this is a trail truck? David Ferris, I think that this is a actually fairly well performing truck. I'm not going to, I'm sure, you know what? I'm surprised. Did Matt call it? He didn't call it a trail truck, did he? And that's how you know. Because Matt likes to say that as an excuse for why. It's like, I'm building a trail truck. That's why my performance sucks. Or he likes to just be like, it's a trail truck. It's fine that it is this way. It's ridiculous the way that he puts that caveat on it. Ridiculous, Matt. Tires seem to lack traction. I would have to agree that the compound leaves a little bit to be desired. Yeah, I like the way that these tires look. I'll tell you that. I actually like the Wild Peaks. And I think that, they did a good job. But the compound, it falls a little bit short. So, WD-40 treatment, I never do that stuff really. Like, it's either, the tires either work or replace them with something that does work. I don't find it worth trying to do soaking treatments to marginally soften it up, and I think half of that is just I just got a set of ruptures, can't decide which vehicle to put them on. Ruptures are, that's a straight up comp tire. Soak them in diesel, absolutely not. Replace them with crawlers, probably so. Think they will have a clear body? I think they already have a clear body. You can look it up, called the Proline Metric. I imagine that you will be able to buy this body in clear. I imagine that those will be available before too long as well. If I get S80 shocks for my Pro, do I need to purchase any separate pivot balls? If you get the full kit, I don't think so. No. Should be able to use everything that's either with them or on the Pro. You should be good. Soak them in diesel fuel and then set them on fire. What would be your choice for tire upgrade? Proline crawlers. Pretty much what's on that one and that one and that one and that one. And there's one more on the ground. Oh, there's two more down there. Yeah. And then there's one more up there with crawlers on it. I run crawlers on a lot of stuff. So, body is on the horizon sight. Hey, what do you know? So, yeah. Timcast just ended, so I was doing his homework, so here I am. How does the base compare to VXT tires? I don't know. I never really ran them side by side, so I don't have an answer for that. When in doubt, get Hyrax. Hyrax do fantastic. They just don't look as good, but they're still pretty good. VXT tires are likely much smaller than these. Much narrower, and decently shorter. Over, I don't know, not quite a 1/4 inch shorter, but maybe. So, yeah, let's see. I hate when body rub when you turn the wheels. Yeah, I know what you mean. But if it rubs just the body, I don't really care. Rubbing the bumper, I don't like. But if it touches the body, I don't really care that much. Well, tires rub stuff. Crawlers are landmines for me. I like the crawler. I love the crawlers, and I like my landmines. Best wide wheels, I don't know. I don't really run wide wheels. Is there a tall body post for a Bronco body? Included in the kit? I don't remember. I don't know. It's a good question, but I don't know what I did with the rest of the like the spare parts and stuff that it came came with, like the manual and stuff like that. I don't know. So, well, it is 8 o'clock. We've gone through quite a bit of information. I don't know if I have anything left to add that is of any use to the rest of you. We have looked through this thing left, right, and sideways. If you have any final last words, last questions, get them in the chat. I'm going to get this thing wrapped back up. But hopefully, if there was anything that I missed in the review, I got it here. I think that there was. So, what do you use for a hardware organizer on the trail? When I'm on the trail and I carry hardware, I actually don't carry it organized. I carry this. It's just one little bottle that has a number of basically every size. You know, when I made it originally, I put like 4 of each size screw, like 4 millimeters, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. And then I put like a bunch of lock nuts in there, some random spacers, some flatheads, some counters, like just a number of everything. So if I lose something on the trail, something in here should it should have what I need. The only problem is like you're dumping it out to like find what you need, but of every size, like Matt's emergency googly eye kit, exactly. You know, one of us has all the hardware, the other has googly eyes. How drunk are you, Barbara? I don't know what that reference is from. So I think we have, looks like we have exhausted all of this. Looks like all the new SCX10 Base Camp parts are on pre-order on Horizon. Oh, nice. Everything's there already. You'd be surprised how set of googly eyes will fix. I'm still surprised. I was shocked by Matt's just quick draw googly eye kit ability. That was straight up impressive. I mean, just absolutely impressive. But anyway, anyone who's still here, hit the like button before you leave. You have to close the chat, hit the like if you're on your phone. If you're not on your phone, just hit the button. What are you doing? You should have done it already. You can hit the dislike too. It counts the same. The internet needs your approval. Britney Spears has googly eyes. She's got crazy eyes for sure. Impressive like Lindsay Lohan. All right. That's all for this evening, folks. I'm going to get my desk cleaned back up. And get to work on some stuff. I have a bunch of things that I would like to get done before tomorrow. I have another truck to get up and running to go on a fun run with my friends. And probably best if I don't do it on video, because that would be boring and I would be very distracted. So, thank you. Have a good night. I'll see you guys on Scale News and stuff and things. You guys are great. Appreciate it. Thanks for the good questions. Have a good night.